Chapter 6. Brace Yourself. As Emerson celebrated Molly's 2 being approved with Cruz, Herman, Gabby, and Otis, Peter Mills walked in with eyebrows furrowed. He looked confused, as if he didn't know how to feel about something. "Hey, Mills, you okay?" Emerson asked, being the first one to notice him. Yeah." His eyebrows were furrowed, as if he was distraught. Lillo just came by to apologize. Her eyes widened in surprise, shrugging her shoulders. "That's good, right? I suppose." They didn't get to speak about it more before the first bell of the day rang. They rushed to the call, supposing they would finally get a move on with the whole Lullo thing. After the call, the 2 paramedics walked into their chief's office, supposing they should let him know about Lullo's appearance at the firehouse early in the day. Emerson knocked on the door, waiting for Bowden to turn around and gesture for them to come in before turning the knob. She pushed the door open, letting Mills walk in first. "Chief, I wanted to tell you that Anthony Lullo was waiting for me outside this morning. He apologized for his actions the other day. He says he knows that we did all that we could." "And you believe him?" "I do. And looking back, I'm glad that I didn't file a police report on him. He's in deep grief, and he deserves a pass on this." Bowden turned to Emerson, waiting to see what she thought of it. Truth was, she was on the fence about it. She could tell people feared that man, and even Jay said he was no joke. But at the same time, Mills had a point. She understood the length a father could go as he faced the loss of his only son. Maybe his reputation preceded him, but he shouldn't necessarily be punished for it. So she nodded, letting her chief know she agreed with her partner. "Okay, glad you trusted your gut." He dismissed them, and they went back to their own occupations. Emerson found herself in the kitchen with Cruz, who roped her in by telling her he wanted to try a new recipe for the holiday fest. "Okay, out of the way. Out of the way." Emerson called out, holding the very hot tray she'd just taken out of the oven and bringing it to the metal kitchen island. "What's this?" Herman asked, suddenly very interested when the smell overwhelmed his nostrils. "Emerson and I have been trying something for the holiday fest," Cruz announced proudly. She's letting Emerson do the grand reveal. "We call it Santa Bites." Cruz seemed confused at her words because it was definitely something she decided on her own. She figured her recipe, her name. "It's turkey, potatoes, and cranberries, all baked in a bun. Dig in." Otis grabbed one first, biting into it under the unsure stares of Herman and Mouch. They all impatiently waited for his reaction. Eventually, he moaned, making hand gestures. Oh ho! Okay, wow!" he exclaimed, making Herman and Mouch immediately reach for one too. The 2 had a similar reaction, seeming pleasantly surprised by the result. "Is it a double overhead shaka, twice in 1 year?" "Yeah!" "Damn, I hate to say it, but this food truck thing is just what Molly's needs." "Ah, holy smokes!" Emerson proudly chuckled at Herman's words. As any other cook would, she thoroughly enjoyed the compliments. They showed off the food to the rest of the firehouse before going on to clean the kitchen and the dishes they used. Afterwards, Emerson got right onto her laundry since it was starting to pile up a little. She walked up to Gabby with her laundry basket, noticing she seemed a little distracted. "Are you done with the washer?" It took a few seconds for Gabby to process what she said. "What? Oh yeah, maybe we should have a sign-in sheet for when we can use these," Emerson stated mindlessly. "Yeah, it's always been more of a first-come, first-serve. It's messy," Gabby answered, giving up on folding the shirt she was holding. Instead, she was holding it against her chest, staring into space. "You okay?" Emerson questioned, figuring there was definitely something on her mind. "You know, there's not a lot of estrogen in this house, so if you ever want to download, I'm here." "Thank you," Gabby gratefully said, thinking about it for a few seconds before she spoke again. "I found this shirt in the bottom of my locker. It's from this barbecue a couple years ago when I was a paramedic and Casey was engaged to this doctor, and I remember him playing with a couple of these kids in the park, and I don't know. I guess things seemed simpler." "Simpler?" Emerson questioned as she stopped doing her laundry to fully concentrate on Gabby. "The man you loved was engaged to another woman." Gabby chuckled. "Yeah. You're going to look back a year from now and be on the other side of whatever's going on. I know that," Emerson told her, speaking from experience. Right before Gabby left, she handed her a dirty shirt of hers. There. What's this? Put it in the bottom of your locker, and then a year from now, when you find it, you can remember this day. Gabby let out a breathy laugh, grateful for the advice Emerson gave her. Emerson sat at the back of the ambulance, ready a gossip magazine by herself as a way to pass the time. She had been in there for who knows how long before Mills opened the doors, greeting her. Hi? Did you know Kim Kardashian went to an all-girls school? She didn't even look up at him when she spoke. That explains a lot, he answered, taking a few seconds to actually think about it. I got you something. What's this? She grabbed it from his hands, smiling. It's nothing, really. I know I jumped your case a while back, and you stepped up. I wanted to say thank you. Mills sincerely said, referring to a call they had when they first started out as partners. Emerson really did appreciate the attention, and she was just about to thank him back before the alarm blared through the firehouse. Ambulance 61, injuries from a fall, 815 South Nebraska. That's around the corner, Mills stated as they shut the rig's door. I'll open this after the call, she told him, holding up They jumped in the ambo, sirens blaring as they drove off. As soon as they got to the location of the call, they jumped out and immediately heard a man yelling. Where'd you fall from? Peter asked, glancing around as he tried to figure it out. There wasn't any logical place for him to fall from since they were in an alley with nothing in sight, no windows or anything. You fell, sir? Emerson asked, focusing on his injuries as she tried to understand what could have possibly happened. Ooh, my legs, my legs, my legs. Okay, deep breaths. What's your name? Emerson continued, trying to calm the man as Mills reached over to take a look at his legs. Walter. Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. He didn't fall. He was run over. Peter spoke over the man's yells, gesturing at a truck that was stopped further down the alley. They quickly put him on the stretcher and did everything they had to do. He's passed out from blood loss. Let's get him to Chicago Med. Peter announced, starting to tuck him in as Emerson noticed a car driving down the alley. What's that? The car drove in, blocking off the entire alley. Two men walked out and started walking towards them. Emerson's heart started beating loudly in her chest, feeling her hands getting clammy. She didn't know them, but from the looks of it, they were up to no good. After a while, back at the firehouse, the men from Truck 81 were starting to get worried about their paramedics. Casey decided to put a call into dispatch, asking them for the status of Ambulance 61. They quickly loaded up and drove straight to the scene they were supposed to be at for hours now, only to find the ambulance, but no paramedics. The lieutenant quickly asked for police assistance. Halstead, thanks for coming, Casey said, walking up to him as Jay arrived on scene. When he heard about two missing paramedics, he immediately asked Voight if he could take it. Jay was well aware it wasn't an intelligence matter, so he didn't mind working it on his own while they had a slow day. Good to have someone we can trust on this. They shook hands as Casey walked him towards the ambulance. Absolutely. Still no word from Weller or Mills? No. Dumb question. Anybody try their cells? Jay tried, figuring it wouldn't hurt to ask. Yeah, no answer. All right, give me Mills's number. I'm going to get an order and start pinging them, Jay said, observing the whole scene. After a couple of seconds of looking at practically nothing, since this was an empty alley. Were they dispatched to this location? Yeah. Jay paused at Matt's answer, taking a deep breath in. This could have been a setup. Truth was, the odds of them being dispatched to this kind of location for a real call were practically none. Plus, after hearing all about the Anthony Lullo and Mills situation, it was a no-brainer to the detective. Lullo's got to be behind this, right? Yeah, I think we got to start with that assumption. Jay was worried to say the least because at this point anything could have happened. They'd been missing for 6 hours and they still had no idea what happened. 6 hours earlier. Hey guys, we've got a medical emergency here. We need you to move the vehicle. Mills yelled at them, but they walked with a purpose in their step and no intention of stopping. Hands in the air. Keep your mouths shut. One of them spoke, pointing a gun at them. Whoa. Emerson mumbled, both of them holding their hands out for the men to see. If she wasn't scared before, now she was. Turn around, one of them yelled, only for the other to glare at him. The latter stepped up to Emerson while the one that yelled approached Mills. "Keep it down," he said to his partner, grabbing Emerson's hands and turning her around himself. "Put your hands behind your back. No one gets hurt." "This guy needs to get to the hospital," Emerson argued as the man zip-tied her wrists. "Weller," Mills muttered under his breath as if trying to get her to stop talking. "What is this?" She started panicking, feeling her hands being tied together, unable to do anything to defend herself. "Don't hurt her, please," Peter pleaded when he heard Emerson groaned in pain, obviously catching on to what was happening. "Doesn't have to be messy. Just do what we say." "Would you let her go? I'm the one that he wants. Come on." Peter tried to convince them to let Emerson go as they guided the paramedics towards their car. "He? Who's he?" the man mocked, pushing Emerson to the car. "Weller, don't get in that car." Peter called out, making her try to make a quick escape. She grunted as he pushed her against the car while the other man pulled his gun on Mills. "I will blow your head clean off. Get in." They finally succeeded in pushing the both of them in, driving off in a hurry. "Where are you taking us?" Peter tried as the men worked on taking of their radios and everything else they could use to get themselves out of that situation. "Shut up." "Where's your phone, hon?" the second man asked, his hands practically already down Emerson's jacket, looking for it as he drove. "Left-hand jacket pocket," she told him, observing carefully what the two men looked like and what they were doing. Emerson watched as he threw their radios out the window and scoffed, seeing her last hope of getting out of this going out the window. The man drove around like a maniac, the tires screeching every time they turned a corner. Emerson was scared to death, although she tried to put on a brave face. She hated to be in that situation, and she hated that there wasn't much she could do about it. At this point, if Anthony Lullo really was behind it, she wished she'd went with her guts and filed a complaint herself. "Jason Lullo. He sustained fatal injuries long before we arrived on the scene." "I don't know what you're talking about. Just keep quiet now," the man retorted, trying to get Peter Mills to shut up. "At least let her go. I was the one in the—" "Shut your hole!" he yelled, pointing the gun at Mills once again. Emerson only heard the noise the metal made as it moved in the man's hand. "You gonna kill us? You know everything, is that it?" the driver said, looking at him through the mirror. "Weller," Peter called. "Quiet," the man hissed. "Weller, brace yourself." Peter called again, making Emerson reach for the door handle right away as Mills kicked the gun out of the man's hands. He grunted, Mills' knee hitting his face repeatedly as he heard the tires screeching against the asphalt. Mills then kicked the driver in the face, making him lose control of the car. He used his foot to strangle him, and Emerson tried to regain control of the vehicle, who soon enough collided with something else. Jay drove through the streets of Chicago, trying to follow up on a possible path the car they suspected might have taken. It was a lot of guesses and not a lot of reliable information. He only hoped they would find it soon. "Whoa," he mumbled under his breath, noticing a broken fence. Jay directed his car towards it, parking right next to it. He quickly got out of the car, quickly heading towards it. Soon enough, he found the car he'd been looking for. It was stuck underneath a trailer, the top of it completely ripped off. Jay approached it carefully with his gun in front of himself, ready to react if anyone came at him. Jay bent down to look inside the car, grabbing his call to put in a call to run the plate. "This is Detective Halstead of Intelligence. I need to run an Illinois passenger tag. 2531 William North Sam." As he asked, he noticed the car was empty and it looked like everyone made it out. Jay found out that the car was reported stolen yesterday, but he knew damn well the accident must have happened hours ago. That worried him because he knew that with every passing minutes, he knew there was less and less chances they were okay.